guys, it's your girl Roxanne. Welcome back to the second episode of Cuts Deep. Today I'm joined by Asiya and Tamsin, and we will be discussing toxic relationships, loneliness, and depression. So we'll start off with playing a Never Have I Ever game. The first question is, never have I ever been told what to wear, who to see, or where to go. Okay. Can you give me an example on when that's ever happened on a reoccurring situation?
I was in a relationship where it was like a thing where I believed that I had to do what this guy was telling me to do because he made me feel, in his head, he made me feel like this is what I need you to do in order for me to be able to trust you, in order for me to know that you're giving yourself to me fully. And in a relationship, you're supposed to give yourself to each other fully. And I believed everything that he was saying, and I felt like that was right at the time. So if I would go to a certain place, he would have to know the address. He would have to know who's in the address with me and what we was doing. And if it was ever a thing of like, you know, I want to stay out, I want to like be out a bit longer. If it got to the point where he can take it and he didn't want me out, he would pull up at that address. And then I would have to leave, or he would just make a drama out of things to make sure that nobody who I was around would even want me around.
Because of him?
Yeah. And it was also a thing like clothing, you know, how much makeup I wore.
What couldn't you wear?
Clothes like this, like
Revealing
anything that
stuff.
shows skin. Revealing, because it makes you look a certain way, or you're portraying yourself to be a certain way in his eyes if I was dressing a certain way.
Okay.
So yeah, it was like that was pretty much throughout the whole relationship. It was like that.
Really?
Yeah. And it actually made me believe like this is the right way. And I feel like for a long time, like that was stuck, like that mindset, that way of thinking was stuck with me in relationships afterwards. I felt like that's how I had to be.
He kind of drilled it into you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when did you realize that was actually the wrong way and that's not how it's meant to be? At what point in your life, what happened for you to then realize that actually this isn't the right way?
I feel like it was a few things put together. So like it was like friends and family saying that they barely recognize me anymore because I'm quite a loud and out there person. So me not doing what I wanted to do, me being like inside myself, being really silent and having to ask to do this and do that. I feel like them putting that out to me and like telling me that wasn't like the right way, that kind of triggered my thinking. And also it was like a cross between feeling so unhappy, thinking you're supposed to be happy in a relationship and comfortable with what's going on. So that also made me, like, it triggered me to think like something's not right here.
Sure.
So then I like went on to counselling and getting help from counsellors out there and different hospitals, and they was the ones who was telling me like, you know,
this isn't
it, like, and I need to fix it. And that's where the process began to like build myself up.
Yeah. I think I definitely relate to that. I was in a relationship. This was actually my first relationship when I was 16 with somebody who was 18 years old. And it was very much the same thing. I had to report, you know, anywhere I went, whether it was with my girls, whether it was I was going to a party, even further down the relationship, it even got to the point where even if I was going out with like my mum, I had to tell him where I was going and how long I was going for when I would be home. Things like what I was wearing, dresses, any tight things, anything like that, I couldn't wear. He didn't allow me to. And then even things like who I was seeing, he made me cut off friends because they were, let's say, party girls, and he didn't like me being around that because he thought that, you know, because they're having fun, I'm doing the same thing, or because they're going out all the time, I'm doing the same thing. Or single friends, he didn't like me having single friends because I was in a relationship, so I should be around people who are in relationships. Tamsin, you said you have not.
I haven't been told like what I can and can't wear as such, but I have been in relationships that are, or a particular relationship that the person was a bit possessive.
In what ways?
it started with little things. So what you guys have spoken about, kind of similar things, like with the cutting friends off and trying to micromanage little moves that I made, or even like jobs that I had, I remember as well. Like things like he took my car so that I couldn't be as mobile as I was, like little things like that. But it started off with verbal put downs. So like, your nose is too big, or, you know, like little things. And I'll be like, did you not ask to be with me? Like, did you not
you saw
pursue
this? I had
me? This is how you met me. So, you know.
Yeah.
And then, but after a while, you do start to believe it, because it's like, it's constant in your ear. And then because you're kind of isolated from your friends and your family, it then becomes, this person is the main person, the main voice, the main kind of way of thinking and being, that it does become a bit mad. But yeah, clothes wasn't really one of the things, but yeah.
I think when it comes to that kind of stuff, like you said, like being verbally put down all the time, I think especially at young ages, I'm speaking from my own experience, being 16 at the time of the relationship, being told the same thing, like, you know, physical appearances, or you don't look good in this, or your makeup's too much, or, you know, or your eyes are too small, or, do you know what I'm saying? Just stuff like that. And I think it got to the point where, first of all, I started believing it. And second of all, you know, when you're with your partner, that is who you want to look good for at the end of the day. That's your partner, that's your other half. And so hearing that from that person that's meant to be telling you that you're beautiful, empowering, you know, making you feel confident within yourself, that is why you start believing it, for sure.
I feel like that is a way to break a woman down. If you're a strong-willed woman and you know what you want and you know where you want to be and you like are assertive in yourself, I feel like that is a way that people try and slowly get that control over you. Because if you're doubting yourself and you don't believe in yourself and you don't trust in yourself, it's more easier for somebody to tell you what's wrong and right and to tell you what to do. And you're going to agree with that because you're not thinking for yourself at that moment.
And when you start losing that confidence, you know, because of your partner, you then don't want to go out, you don't want to go out to parties, you don't want to wear certain clothes because you're too fat or you're too skinny or you whatever. It's just a way of manipulating you, really.
But I think these things do happen more commonly with younger females because, you know, at that age, or those ages from 15 to kind of your early 20s, you are still working out your identity. You are still kind of learning who you are, learning what you like, learning what you don't like. And because of that, that's almost like a little gateway, little doorway for them to come in and go, actually, no, you're not that confident. That loud voice that you have, no, let me hush it down, because it overrides my insecurities about myself and how I want to have a relationship. So, yeah.
Definitely. Okay, well, that leads me on to my next question. Have you ever had to lie to your partner about, you know, where you are again or who you're with because of their jealousy and their possessiveness?
I have.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not having to, but I did it anyway because you would rather, once you get into that mindset and that worry of upsetting your partner, you feel like, okay, if I say that, it might not just be like that you're going to lose them as such. It might just be, this is going to create problems. It's going to get argumentative when I'm at home, maybe even physical. Yeah. So how can I protect myself from that happening? And it's not necessarily like you're with the wrong person or you're doing a bad thing. You could literally just be with a normal person who is your friend or family, chilling. But like, when you're in that type of relationship, you have to
definitely
protect yourself. And I feel like that's what I did a lot to protect myself. I've lied quite a few times about who I'm with and where I am and what I'm doing.
Not because you were doing something wrong, but just because you knew they wouldn't like it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tamsin?
Yeah, I agree with you. It is for survival. It's not because you're being manipulative or because, you know, you're up to no good. It is because you don't want the drama, you don't want the headache, you don't want to be abused, basically, because these types of relationships are abuse. It's abusive, whether they physically punch you or not. You know, it's the small little things that eventually build up until, and sometimes it will get into violence because, you know, that's how manipulation starts.
Yeah.
But,
And I think that's what a lot of, like you said, especially young girls fail to realize, that when it comes to the word toxic, that doesn't necessarily mean you are beaten up and punched and kicked and whatnot. A lot of it starts mental and emotional, because once they break you from the inside, they don't have to worry about having to fight you physically. So I think, you know, it's very important to look out for certain signs that you have both mentioned. It got to that point with that first relationship, and I think that's hopefully the only relationship that I thought was toxic, where he actually hit me with a bottle because he found me at a party that I went to drop my friend to. And he lied to me about being there. He said he wasn't there, or at the time said he was elsewhere. And I lied to him saying I was going wherever I was going, when actually I was going to drop my friend to this party, and he ended up being there. And because he saw me, he got so aggressive, and it got so deep into an argument. People started getting involved, you know, especially in public. People are like, oh, what's going on? Everyone wants to see. Then nowadays cameras come out and God knows what else. And, you know, he didn't want to seem like a waste man, as they call it, because, you know, your girl's at a party or whatever, she's not meant to be there, or he thinks she shouldn't be there.
Sorry, but people go to parties and it's just men?
Well, no, but obviously when, you know,
it's just so ridiculous.
It is, but I think a lot of it does come down to pride and respect in a way. You know, certain guys see girls as their property. So if I'm telling you to sit down, you sit down. If I tell you to stay home, stay home. But I'm going to parties, I'm going to clubs, I'm going out with my boys, and I'm doing everything else. And I think, you know, that happens a lot of the time, and that is what happened with me at the time. And when he did end up seeing me, I didn't even have the chance to describe what happened, or even say I was just here dropping my friend because, you know, she didn't want to come here alone or whatever. And I was going home, because by the time I even got to that point, there was a whole crowd around us and there was bottles flying. So, and that's actually probably the last time he saw me. And from then I was like, yeah, so any little sign that I see now, I'm like, no, red flag, out.
Strong for that, strong.
But it took a while, because I was still crying. Even though the man hit me, I still went home to cry that this was the end of the relationship, and, you know, how could this happen?
Yeah, because it's still tried to.
Yeah. I feel like that's the main thing. Like, it's harder to cut somebody off, not even out of love, because sometimes love isn't enough. I feel like it's that attachment and being alone and knowing that you're going back to, okay, I'm by myself now. I feel like that is like one of the hardest things you have to come to terms with, like, especially if you've got low self-esteem, or a partner has been putting you down for so long, you feel like you're incapable of being alone and starting again on your own. Like,
that actually leads me on to my next question, which was, have you ever been too afraid to walk away from a relationship because you were scared of being lonely?
Yeah, I have. Definitely.
Yeah, but obviously on reflection, it wasn't anything to do with that. It was more what had been said during the relationship. Yeah. Well, you're never going to find anyone as good as me, all that nonsense. And you think to yourself, well, really? And even at the time, I remember thinking, oh, shut up, you're chatting so much S. But there's that fear. There's that
it might be true.
There's that fear. Not so much that it might be true, but more what they are going to do, or how they're going to react, because they talk so much.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word is. Talk so much shit. You
use that up, please.
Because they talk so much rubbish. You start to believe it. You start to believe that they're gonna kill you. They're gonna come and find your friends, and they're gonna hurt your boyfriend. And,
you have.
Yeah, I'm gonna chase. I'm gonna get girls on you, and all this kind of nonsense. You start to believe that, and you just think, oh, for the easy life, let me just stay. But really, it's not the easy life. Like,
the longer you stay, the harder it gets.
Yeah.
And then, God forbid, kids get involved, and then that makes it a whole lot harder, because then you're not even thinking of yourself. I mean, I don't have children, but I know quite a few of my friends who have stayed in relationships because, you know, for the sake of the child, and the child gets to 4 or 5 years old and they've had enough, and they're like, and now the child is old enough to understand what's going on, you know, where is daddy, why is this happening, arguments, all that stuff. So I think, it's very important to try and narrow it down. And
I think, but also like females that do have babies in toxic relationships, one thing that, especially if you're a new mum or younger and you're about to have a child, is that you underestimate the power that children have and the discernment that they have, even though they may not be able to verbalize or articulate what they see and feel. They definitely do. In the first 5 years of a baby's development is like the most crucial part. And that is like the foundation for everything that they build up on in their life, like their language, their attachment style, their attachment ability in relationships, and all of that is modeled later on in life. It sometimes doesn't show up until they're going to high school, and then you start to see that yourself. So it's really important that if you are having a baby and you know that you're in a toxic relationship, you need to put boundaries in place as soon as possible in whatever way that is, and get support, because I'd rather say to a person that's having a baby now, raise that child alone, happy and safe, rather than, oh, I'm going to stay because he needs to have his dad around or she needs to have their dad around, because, it's just it's a lot safer for the two of you, you know? And if you can get legal things in place to make sure that, okay, you can still have access as long as you're not hurting me or the child. But, you know, it's dangerous.
I've actually been in that situation. Like, I have a little child. She's 2. She's amazing. And I've been in a relationship for like a year with her. And that relationship was literally like, most of that relationship I was saying, I can't leave. She loves him. He loves her. Like, he's going to help give us a better life, give her a better life, because this person that I was actually with was not my child's father. So, like, he wasn't around at that moment. And, like, this guy, I felt like was, every time we had an argument, it was like, well, your child, this, that, she's my daughter too, like. And I stayed in it for way too long because of that reason.
So he would use sort of your child as a, I love her, she's mine too, that kind of stuff.
And it was like, I would also see in my daughter that she missed him when he wasn't around. And like, it took for me to actually stop thinking about myself and him, for me to actually notice and realise that she was affected, even just by me crying in front of her. Like, now she's getting to the point where she can talk a little bit. So when she started talking and she was saying, Mummy, don't cry, wipe your tears, and she would stare at me. She would go from playing with her toys over there to come and sit in beside me, and she would not leave my side. Or she wouldn't sleep in her room because she could feel that I was upset. And then when I started realising it was affecting her like that, that's when I was like, okay, this needs to end, because your children are everything, and you don't want to be the reason why your child grows up with issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've already been through that with my parents. And when I realised I was actually doing exactly what my mum did, I had to put that to an end. But some people, they don't. Some people, it's really hard. It was very hard for me. And like, I feel like it takes a lot of support and a lot of help, and to be very strong in yourself to get out of that situation.
Especially if some people don't have family support, especially young moms. I feel like, there's a lot of, based on, seeing what my friends have gone through. One of my friends, she had a child when she was 15, we were going through our GCSEs and stuff. And even though you think parents will love their children regardless, for some reason, for whatever reason it is, certain families, they just don't stick by. And, she was really by herself. And I think that's also another reason why some girls could stay in certain relationships, because their families turn away. So they kind of feel like, well, this is the only person that would support me, the only port of call that I have if anything was to happen or go wrong. Okay. What about things like being, told you can't see certain friends?
I've had that as well. Quite a lot, actually. I've had that in quite a few different relationships that I've been in. Like, there's like, I feel like 3 major relationships that I've had in my life already. Don't know how, I'm 22. But they were important to me, and every single one of them have said at different times, like, I don't want you around so-and-so because she's like this and she does that. And if she's doing that and she's like this and I think of her like that, then you are that. And when you love someone, I feel like you really do. You think, you listen to what they say and you believe in what they say a lot more. Like I feel like your judgment gets clouded when you feel for someone. So a lot of times, me and my friends have parted from each other because of relationships that we've been in and our partner's not liking it. And I actually think it's not actually down to what the friend does, who she is, or what she portrays herself to be. It's because the more people you have around you who love you and support you, the harder it is for
the toxic partner to
control you. That's exactly what it is.
And it's also, you know, trust in your relationship. And I think a lot of toxic relationships, partners, whether it would be male or female, I think it comes from their own insecurities or the stuff that they do when their partner isn't around. So in their head, they think, oh, you know, because I do this, she probably does that when she's with her friends, or he probably does that when he's with his friends, kind of stuff. So,
or they've had their heart broken by one girl, and poor little them, could they ever be cheated on? Any girl that I'm with now, she's gonna fall in line.
Yeah,
and that's really sad.
It is.
I'm laughing not because I'm insensitive to all of this, because obviously I've experienced a lot of this as well, but also because it's just so funny.
It is.
Like it's actually mad that some people, like guys that treat girls like this, think that it's okay. Like they actually think it's all right. It's just sick. It's actually sick that actually goes on. And a lot of the time, like you said, it is their own insecurities, maybe their own upbringing, but their own brokenness as well. And then they go and find somebody else that's a little bit broken. And, you know, they use that to manipulate. It's really, really bad.
Definitely. And then sometimes I think, you know, they must have, you know, they have a mum, they must have sisters or cousins or some sort of females that matter to them around them. Does that not go through boys and men's heads? Like, if that was my sister, if that was my daughter, even, do you know what I mean? Because I think that hits even deeper. And like you said, it's not funny, but it is funny to think that people actually think that this is okay. And then you have them friends that are like, oh, you know, like some of my friends, when I was in that kind of relationship where, you know, I was almost monitored where I was going, who I was going with. Because I think my relationship was at such a young age. To us, it was at the beginning when I first fell into it, it was kind of like, oh, you know, oh, it's all right. He cares. Or, you know, he's just protective. Or, you know, and then you kind of, do you know what I mean? You kind of blind yourself for that. And my friends would hype me like, oh, yeah, like, you know, your man's a bad man. Yeah, everyone respects him. No.
Yeah. Little do they know he's not even respecting you.
Exactly.
Or himself at that.
I feel like the worst one is when you've got a guy who has narcissistic tendencies, but he knows exactly how to behave around people. I think that is one of the hardest situations I've been in, with somebody who around everyone was so amazing. He was charming, so amazing. And you just think to yourself, no one is ever going to believe anything that comes out of my mouth. There was friends that said to me, no, you're lying. That does not happen behind closed doors, because I've been with this person. I've seen how he is with you. He loves you, the way he looks at you, the way he is.
Yeah.
But when somebody does not want to be seen for what they really are, they're going to hide it to the best of their ability.
Best actors.
It is really
best
bad.
Actors.
It is really bad. Sometimes you start to even go over yourself. You start to think,
but that's their
am
trick.
I being crazy here? Like,
that's what they want.
Yeah.
They want you to sit there and question
and
yourself.
Stupid.
Like, am I just dreaming this? Like, am I going crazy? Like,
am I for the top? Like,
am I overreacting here? Am I really?
As then you start kind of believing, oh, maybe this is just what happens. Maybe this is just normal. And I think that's, once you fall into that stage where you're like, maybe I'm just overreacting. Or maybe this is normal, you know, maybe this is, or maybe it's not that deep. Maybe it's just, he hit me. Or maybe it was just a one-off. Or maybe I made him too angry. And then you start blaming yourself and second guessing yourself. Like, maybe it's my fault. Maybe, you know, I'm doing this wrong, or there's something wrong with me, or it's my behaviors that are leading to that. No matter what you do, no man has the right to put their hands on you. That's just what I believe in anyway.
Or tell you what to wear.
Exactly.
Or tell you how long to be out. Or all of these things that you're going to ask us. Like any whatever questions you've got to come, it's all going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
If you're not my dad, then you don't have the right to
tell me anything.
I think there's a fine line. Like, I feel like in a relationship, somebody should be able to tell you, right, I don't agree with this. I feel like this and this is going to affect you in a negative way. I wouldn't like it if you did that.
There's
like,
ways.
I feel like that it's fine to say, right, I'm not comfortable with this. That is going to hurt me if you do that. But then when you overstep the mark and you're saying, right now, either I can't be with you if you do this, or like,
this will happen.
This is going to happen, or this and that's going to happen if you do this. That's when it becomes an issue. You can't force anybody. All of us, whether you're a guy or a girl, everybody has the right to say no. Everybody has the right to make their own decisions and make their own choices. And I feel like if you can't handle somebody making a decision for themselves, then you shouldn't be in that situation. You shouldn't be with somebody if you can't deal with the fact that you can't control somebody. You know what I mean?
And I think also, you know, like you said, there's a fine line. And in a relationship, you know, if you do wear something skimpy or something that your partner doesn't feel comfortable with, which is fair enough, you know, no man wants another man looking at their woman when you're going out, especially when they're not there or whatever. There is ways of saying it, you know, babes, I don't feel comfortable with you wearing that. Or can you wear a cardigan over it or something? You can suggest, you can make comments, but if I end up wearing it, I end up wearing it. And that's just down to the respect I have for my partner. If it's genuinely something that someone might take as disrespectful, that's how I see it anyway. But if you feel like you're in a relationship where, you know, your woman or your man don't respect what you feel uncomfortable with, whether it's, I don't know, going out with your boys or your girls too much, or being around too many men, or being around too many women, whatever it is, or being around certain friends, just don't be in that relationship. Leave. Yeah. Don't try and change somebody else. If you can't come to some sort of a compromise, or, you know, you can't talk it out and actually say, this is what's making me feel uncomfortable, just leave. Yeah. There's just no point.
I agree with you, but I disagree on some things. Like my partner now, he doesn't mind anything I wear. Like, the sexier I look, the better for him, because it's like I'm
represented.
I'm the sexy girl that he's got, sort of thing. Yeah. So you know what? I've never had to think about what I wear with my partner now. I've never had to ask his advice, ask his suggestion, ask his permission, or what do you think of this, or cover up this, or cover up that, even when I'm not with him. For example, like a few years ago, I went to a Halloween thing with like the shortest kind of shorts alive on, and wings, and, you know, like I was fancy dressed up. And there was not even a conversation about it. But I was out and a guy said to me, if your man lets you walk out like that, he's a dickhead. So it nearly started something, because I just thought,
how dare you?
Yeah. So I was gonna say something, and I thought, you know what? That's you. That's you, innit? So I went home to my man. We had a very nice evening after that. So, like, what's your problem? All you're doing is looking. But the point I'm making is, a relationship is a partnership, and you come together as two whole people, and you come together to share and complement each other, not to drag each other down or unpick. And if you are going to say something like, babe, you know, when you do this, like, it's not a good look for you, and like what you were saying, this makes me uncomfortable, or whatever, I can have a conversation with you about that. But if you're trying to dictate,
you're not wearing that,
or threaten me, that's a red flag. And that is the beginning of what could be a very toxic relationship. So if you're thinking about, am I in a toxic relationship, and you're having these things come up as red flags, like, constantly, and you're constantly questioning your own judgment, then you probably are in a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like what you said about your partner being like okay with you wearing what you want to wear and doing as you do, I think that's just because, like, I feel like when it's allowed, and when men are comfortable with themselves and secure in themselves and are confident in themselves, it's not going to be an issue. I feel like most people who say, right, I'm not comfortable you doing this or whatnot, and they start acting up about it, it's because they're not confident in themselves. And they feel as though if other people want you, you're going to then act out. But that, I feel like that's where trust and confidence is, like, major in a relationship. Because if you're confident in yourself to know, right, that is my woman or that is my man, they can go and do this and be around whoever. I am confident and comfortable enough to know I've got it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got it enough for them to come back to me. And also, I trust in them enough to know that they can go out and people can throw themselves at them, but they're going to have enough respect for themselves and me to say no. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I definitely do agree. But then, you know, there is some relationships that have gone through some ups and downs, and there may be some broken trust in the beginning. And then, you know, you kind of give it a second go, because people do. That's what relationships are about. People make mistakes and it's okay. But, you know, I think it's very much harder to then have that kind of mindset if you do have that relationship where your trust has previously been broken and you've given it you call it a clean slate, but really and truly it never is.
It's not a clean slate.
It will always be there. So, you know, I was in a relationship where maybe I was, to be fair, the toxic one. And I put my hands up to it because it was something where my trust was broken. And even though I agreed to forgive,
you didn't let go.
I said I wasn't going to let go. And I said I was going to bring it up. And he said, do you know what? I messed up. I'm going to, you know, that's just what I'm going to have to deal with until you get comfortable enough again in that relationship to like get that trust back. But I struggled for a very long time, and I questioned every time he went out with his friends, any boys' holiday, my blood pressure would be up here. You're
not allowed. You're not to be in a relationship
because this is what you're going to do. Because and I think a lot of the times I had to sit back and think, should I be in this relationship then if I've decided to forgive, but I can't let it go? Because then this actually leads me on to my next question, because then he had to forever walk on eggshells because, if I bring up parties, if I bring up holiday, it's going to get into an argument.
Not fair.
Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't fair. Even though he did mess up initially, it then it got to the point where I was actually the toxic one, because he felt like he couldn't talk to me about certain things, or he couldn't, he couldn't tell me certain things because I would react a certain way. And just for peace, he just wouldn't say certain things. So I do think it doesn't just come from men. It comes from women as well.
Oh, yeah. Newsflash. Women can be the toxic one. Yeah,
definitely. 100%. Definitely. So then have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like I'm not going to say you had to, you never have to do anything, where you felt like you had to walk on eggshells just to avoid conflict?
Yeah, I have. I feel like that's just a given when you're in a toxic relationship. You're always going to be walking on eggshells because you don't know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next. Like,
or what mood they're going to be in.
Exactly. I've even been in a situation where I couldn't even go around my family, and I feel like I actually broke a bond between me and my older sister for somebody, because that person didn't really get along with my older sister, and she had a lot to say. She's very opinionated and she's very protective over me, and what her being around just clashed with what he was trying to do. And I was so afraid of losing him that I actually did break that relationship between me and my sister for quite some time. And it took, I don't even know what made me snap out of it, but thank God I did snap out of it eventually. I just think it's just down to, again, confidence. Like, if your confidence is low and you don't trust and believe in yourself, you're going to end up doing things that you don't want to do for the wrong people.
Definitely. Tamsin?
Yeah, I think it relates back to a question we had earlier. But yeah, I think it's just another thing. You're constantly, like, I agree with you, you're constantly on eggshells when they come home. What mood are they going to be in? What is it today that I've done? What have I done wrong today? Like, what is it going to be? And if he's in a good mood, it's like, oh, we're going to have a good day today. And then you could make the food wrong or something stupid like that. And then it's just like a big thing again. But yeah, I think it's just a really sad existence to have, to live like you can't just do normal day-to-day things freely.
Exactly.
It's really like, it really does weigh you down. It really does make you feel small and insignificant.
Definitely.
To the point where I remember feeling suicidal, like, what's the point of me being here?
If I can't just be me.
If I'm not going to be me, and this is going to cause so much problems and no one else is really around that gets it or is going to understand me or is going to believe me, or it's going to cause a war between my family and his people. I just thought there's no point. It's just easier if I go. And that's a really sad like place to be.
For someone else to push
For
you
someone
to that point.
else, someone else has that power over you. It's a really sad thing.
It does. It gets like that. It builds up over a certain amount of time as well. And I feel like that's the worst part about it. If you let your confidence slip and you no longer have faith in yourself, I feel like that is the hardest to heal from. It takes a long time, a lot of changing your mindsets and changing your thought process for you to like gain that confidence and like love yourself again.
Definitely.
Like still now, I'm still trying to love myself. I'm still trying to understand that I am worth it. Even if it's not for the people that I originally wanted to be enough for, you like everybody's worth it for somebody. Everybody's like amazing. And I feel like females and males out there need to like remember that everybody's different and to love yourself as who you are and how God made you. Otherwise, you're just going to always be going around in circles trying to
Please everybody.
change yourself to please people.
I think that's a very important point. And I think before you find your worth for anybody else, I think you need to find your worth for yourself. What are you worth? You need to learn how to love yourself, to accept yourself as well. I think acceptance is very important, because if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. You can't give that love to anybody, because you don't even have it for the person that should be the most important thing to you. So I think that's a very important point. Obviously, everybody's different. Everyone deals with different situations differently, and everybody's strength levels are, different. But I was going to ask, what is your kind of advice to young girls and women out there who may be assuming or may think that they are in toxic relationships?
I was going to say before, when you were saying it takes a long time to get yourself back together, I was thinking it takes a long time for the toxicity, you know what I mean? Yeah. To actually begin, because in the beginning, it usually is kind of loving and affirming and physical, affectionate and that kind of stuff. And then it comes on as protectiveness and I've got your back and I'm the only one that really cares about you. And then from there, it kind of goes into, I'm the only one. Yeah, remember I'm the only one. And then it's like, oh, and then slowly but surely you're in this cycle of this person is constantly telling me that I'm nothing, they're everything, I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that and they're going to do. Them. And then all of a sudden you're kind of broken down. So it's, your relationship that you were speaking about was when you were 16. Mine was around the same sort of age as well. I don't know how old yours was, probably similar sort of age. It always starts off young. And if you ever speak to the police or the departments that deal with domestic violence or violence in relationships, they will always say it's just textbook stuff. It starts with very small verbal things. Then it begins with trying to isolate you. So that might be controlling your money, managing your money for you. Like for me, taking the car so that I couldn't be mobile. Discussing your friends in a negative way. That's how it kind of begins. And then it's like starts to make you look at your friend sideways like, maybe he's right. Maybe she is a bit of a... And then it goes from there. So once you're then isolated, then they can start to break you down that little bit further.
Definitely.
And it's not always a 3-year thing. Sometimes it might just be 6 months, depending on the intensity and the proximity, how close and how much time you spend with them.
Yeah, of course.
And at that young age, you can spend a lot of time with them, depending on how strict your parents are.
Of course.
If you're studying and working at the same time.
Definitely.
But yeah, if they try and stop you from doing day-to-day things, that's when you should start to begin before this person even dreams of putting their hands on me.
Yeah.
Let me stand up for myself.
Yeah. I feel like it can literally... I feel like sometimes it's hard to determine warning signs, like you said. So, like, I feel like just what I would say to people out there is if at any moment you're with somebody and you're realising that you're doing things that you wouldn't normally do, or you're starting to doubt yourself, or maybe just simply you're just unhappy and you feel like you should be happy and you want to be happy but you can't, and there's something holding you back. You might not know in that moment what the reason is, But when you start to realize that, okay, I'm not actually as happy as I should be, or I'm doing things that I wouldn't actually want to do myself, just to please this person, then that's like that's a major warning sign, because sometimes it takes a long time for you to realize what's going on, because you're trying to determine, is this guy or woman in love with me and just trying to protect me, or are they trying to control me?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah, it's more like knowing in yourself how you're feeling and what you're doing. I think it's a warning sign.
I definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
If you think about the word toxic, it means bad for you, danger. Yeah, like hello, warning signs. Like toxic, something's going on. Like if you read packaging for creams or toothpaste or food and it says toxic on it, you don't take it. You don't put it inside yourself. And when I think about any relationship that I've been in that has gone left, whether I've been the toxic person or the person has been toxic, I just think it's a journey about myself, and it is all about who you are as a person. And being in a toxic relationship means that there's something going on with you that isn't right, and you shouldn't be giving anybody else any time, any energy when you haven't even given it to yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing. And one thing I used to say to my friend who was in a toxic relationship as well was, would you allow me to do this to you? As your best friend, if I was to turn up, say what he's just said, hit you, and then just leave, and then come back and walk into the house 2 hours later like nothing's happened, like, would we still be friends right now? So I think about when you're in a romantic relationship and you're questioning whether it's toxic or not, think about the outside relationships that you have that are maybe platonic, or they're your family relationships, because they are models of any other type of relationship that you have. And unfortunately, sometimes our parents aren't the best models for us. They aren't the best relationship models for us. They don't model things that we need in the right ways. And you have to maybe unlearn a lot of toxic thinking, a lot of toxic behaviors that you put out. And that unlearning is really uncomfortable sometimes, but it's definitely necessary for you to then have healthier relationships in the future. But I think when you're 16 as well, like I'm 34 now, but when I think about 16-year-olds, my daughter's 15 and has like started to talk to boys and likes one particular boy at the moment. I'm like, what business do you have with man right now? I'm just like, you're a child, like spread your wings, learn about who you are. Like, and I think if I could give any young girl or young female advice, it would be that. Get to know who you are. Because, you know, you're gonna maybe have children or whatever, but who are you? How are you gonna be a mother? How are you gonna be a partner to somebody if you don't even know who you are?
If you don't know what you've got to offer somebody, right? How can you be with someone if you don't even know?
And it's also like that, like that not being perfect or ready for someone necessarily, but for yourself. Having that assurity and confidence and contentment for yourself.
Definitely. I definitely agree. I think two things that I wanted to add just before we wrap up is one thing is definitely look for help. Professional help is out there. If you are too embarrassed or too afraid to speak to somebody at home or your friends or, you know, somebody even though you trust those people, you might not want their opinion or you might not want to be judged or whatever it is.
Or sometimes it's easier not to speak to someone, you know.
Exactly. I think it's very important that, you know, you reach out to people. There's counselors, there's, like you said, police, there's different departments. Google is there.
There's loads of charities as well.
There's charities, there's blogs, there's chat groups if you don't want to meet somebody face to face about whether it's domestic abuse, whether it's mental, emotional, whatever kind of abuse you feel, or even if you're not sure, even if you're doubting it and you want to check if you're in a toxic relationship, go and look at the signs that other relationships have shown, that other women have seen or other men have seen in relationships, and then try and adapt it to yours. And the second thing, I think my biggest mistake was not not necessarily not listening to my friends and my loved ones, but completely blocking it out.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about him. You don't know our relationship. You know, you're just, because in a way you kind of think, I know you're doing it for me because you love me, you want to protect me, but don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what actually is right from wrong. And I think, you know, as a parent or as a sister or whatever, you kind of do think, I'm just trying to protect you. I don't like him. He's not good enough for you. That's it. But I think I have a lot of friends that are able to pull themselves out of that best friend kind of character and actually look outside of the box and think, maybe you're doing something wrong, or maybe you are overreacting, or maybe you're not seeing certain things or brushing certain things under the carpet.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what I would say to a friend or anybody that is in a toxic relationship is, if your best friend or your little sister or your older sister or your mum was in that relationship and she was being, or he, a brother, was being treated like that, would you allow it? Would you support it? Would you agree with it? Would you, what kind of advice would you give that person? Always try to, you know, kind of step aside and try and, it's hard when you're in a situation to look outside of the box.
It definitely is.
I think you need to kind of step back and think, if this was somebody else, if this was somebody that I love, that I care about, what would I advise them? What would I say to them? Like you said, would I support it? I think it's.
I think also the moment that you are questioning it in itself tells you something that, hang on a minute, this isn't quite right, or maybe this isn't the relationship for me, and maybe it's best that I step aside and think, let me spend some time on myself and work on what I like, who I like, and what I like to do. Because, you know, the fact that you're questioning, is this toxic? Is this behavior normal? 9 times out of 10 tells you that it's not.
It's not, yeah.
So,
yeah. And that's not to say that, you know, you can't work on certain things, or because some people do it and they genuinely don't realize that they are being toxic.
Yeah.
But I think if you are too afraid to bring that conversation to your relationship or to your partner, it being woman or man, because you might think it might cause a certain situation, then I think it's time
a red
to
flag,
reevaluate and rethink it. Yeah.
Definitely use Google as well. If you feel like you're questioning yourself and you haven't got anybody to speak to, talk about, like, just Google it. That's what I did. I actually once, it sounds insane, but I Googled, is it normal for this and this to happen in a relationship? Or is it normal for you to be feeling like this? And sometimes it just sparks, like when you read it, you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is what I need to do. Definitely just try, I would say definitely try and find out, speak to people, talk. Talking is so important. You have to speak about things, because if you keep it bottled up, you could be in a situation for years. And also, if you feel as though you are being toxic, get help as well.
Yeah,
because nobody deserves to be treated a type of way by yourself either. Like, you have to constantly evaluate yourself and evaluate what's going on around you.
Yeah, it works both ways. And, you know, I think that's half of the problem solved already, whether it be in you realizing that you are in a toxic relationship and looking for help, whether it's, you know, like you said, Googling, whether it's there's chat rooms, there's all that kind of stuff out there. And it's out there for people. It's there to help other people. And it's people like yourselves who have been through situations that come on a show or, you know, write a blog or start a chat room to help other women. And that's all it's about. And I think, you know, it's very important that you don't bottle it up, because it does then get to that point that Tamsin was at, where it came to suicidal thoughts or however. It just depends on your mental strength. And you might think that you're the strongest woman or the strongest man alive, but actually, because it's such a sensitive topic and it's to do with somebody you love and you might see the future with them, whatever, or the father of your children or whatever it is, it's going to hurt, and it's going to get you to the point where you're going to be too weak to then even take any action. Yeah.
And I think mental health is a big thing to discuss when you're bringing this up, because I think, especially as young people, mental health has this stigma that you're crazy or you're mad or you're, you know, severely ill. But it's not always about that. It's like your physical health. You could bash your leg or have an injury on your ankle or your elbow. It's very similar to that. Any kind of trauma, whether they be big or small, that you go through, you need mental help. You need to exercise your mental and start thinking about how can I improve that injury that I have in that area. And it might be loneliness, depression, and it could be something more severe, but the more self-reflection that you do and the support that you get and that kind of guidance that you need, the healthier that you can become. Because whether you're the victim in a toxic relationship or you are toxic because of your own insecurities or whatever, you know, we all need help. We all need support. And like you're saying, look at Google, but also there's so many amazing pages on Instagram. I know loads of kids are on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. There's so many. And the thing is,
help out there.
Yeah, there's so many things that if you spend your time looking at beautiful women and magazines and music artists and all that kind of stuff, you're only going to have that as your, you know, you're in, but what's coming out? So look at different things.
Educate yourself.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to put some links down in the description box. Yes. For charities and pages and chat rooms and Instagram pages that definitely help and they provide support. And if you don't feel comfortable telling somebody else about it, then write a diary. As long as you don't keep it inside, whether it's putting it on paper and burning it or throwing it in the bin, as long as you get it out, that's the most important thing. So I think don't stay silent and definitely talk to somebody about it. Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on. It was lovely talking to you. Make sure you like, comment, share and subscribe. And I'll be back soon with episode number 3.